Hey folks, here we are, ready for a roll reveal. I think I am. This is number 723. It's going to be a 1955 Philadelphia plastic tube drill. How's everybody doing out there? Go ahead and open this up and get us started. This is a roll I got from a dealer in Chicago, and I got other rolls from the same dealer. In fact, I think I got like 15 or 20 rolls of 55 Philly from him. And sporadically, I was finding double dies, obverse and reverse. So they were the class 6 kind, but still double dies. So let's see what we end up with out of here. Going to go ahead and start and get flipped the first coin around to Bethlehem IT. Good afternoon, Dan. Let's see what we have here. I'm not going to mention the poor man's doubling that we end up with because, well, that's just common. Has no marketable value, no actual marketable value. You're going to have a lot of people tell you that there's value in it, but that's because they sell to people who don't really know what they're doing or don't really know what these coins actually are, and they are nuttin' honey. All right, that one is a normal coin. Ready to move on to coin number 2. Hey, Eric. Watching from bed. He's got a little bit of a coughing fit going on. Carl up next. Okay, not the prettiest coin in the world, but it's not damaged. It's decent. It's just got a bit of a print on it. Or actually, not really sure that's a print, but either way, normal coin. Hello, shiny coin guy. Alex. Man, we got bumped. There's Angie. Hello to everyone. We're going to go through a bunch of rolls today. Just happens to be that I got myself slowed down to the point where I can actually do this. My apologies for being AWOL for the last couple of weeks. But finally down to a point where I can do this. I got a couple of announcements to make. The first thing is that Eric has canceled his broadcasts for today, moved them to a different time because he's a little bit under the weather, got a cold or something. And so he won't be broadcasting. If you had planned on watching him today, he won't be broadcasting today. And the other announcement I have to make is that all of the rolls that I had planned on doing as express rolls will be regular rolls, and I'm dumping the express idea. I had thought that it would make things faster, and it has not. It's completely stalled my giddy up. So I'm going to put it away and not do it. There's some red-brown coins going on here. All right. Well, let me get out number 5 and see what happens there. Here is one for Joe Cooper. Prettier coin, but still no doubling there. You have to understand that with these 1955 Philadelphia, you have to be very vigilant to catch anything, because there are a lot of very late die state coins that did not stay red very easily. There are a lot of normal coins and very few die varieties with a pretty large mintage. So overall, there's a nice die cracked head. That one's just about to explode. There's a lot of these that are pretty normal, you know. And finding the die variety is actually kind of difficult to do because there's not very many of them known. Oh, awesome. Great. I'm hearing that there's a bunch of people down. bunch of people we all know are down. And so I wish my best to all those people. Part of why I stay in my house almost all the time, except to walk the dog. I don't generally go very far. Post office maybe. And that's about it. But I wash my hands. Every time I leave the house, I wash my hands as soon as I come back. And who knows, I may end up getting it anyway. Another announcement that I've got for you guys is we have been putting a lot of effort into the YouTube channel. And there are a lot of videos on our YouTube channel that were not there before. Mostly shorts. And if you want to know how to find them, you go to the Copper Coins channel on YouTube, which is youtube.com/c/coppercoins, just in case you don't remember how to get to the homepage of the channel. And then you scroll down, and toward the bottom, you'll see a place called Shorts. And it's got all those vertical videos like people watch on their phone. I'm guilty of the same thing. But we have a couple dozen of them out there. I think it's probably 18, 19, almost 20 of them. And the other voice that you'll hear is our very own Eric Maith. Pretty good voice, and he enjoys doing this, so I enjoy having him help. Stephen Dallas, good day. Good day to you. Ant and Doug. Here's one for Farm Dog. Steve, I do need to call you at some point. As soon as you get as unbusy as you're going to get, and I get as unbusy as I'm going to get, we should probably have a bit of a chit-chat. Of course, I sent to you the letter that I would like to discuss. And these coins are not the best. A 50-cent, 50 cent FS 401 Clash. Is that 401 Clash? Is that a like a Bugs Bunny style thing? I don't know Franklin's at all. Don't even profess to know anything about them. I'll let anybody respond to anybody before I'll jump in. Not that I don't have interest in them, I just never studied them. It's an interesting coin. Okay, so there is a 59 Bugs Bunny. I was unaware of that. Let's see here. This one's for Doug. And it looks like we're probably not going to go very far with this roll. It looks like it's pretty much normal. And I was trying to look at the back of every coin, the reverse, because there is a double die reverse known. And in some of the rolls that I had purchased from this dealer at the same time that I purchased these, had some of those double dies in there. A class 6 double die, very nice looking doubling. Not common, because a lot of people don't know they exist. So always best to be hunting for things that other people don't know about. That way your chances of finding one is much better. Another thing that we're looking into, now I don't need you to answer now. This isn't anything to jump up and shout out, because we're going to be holding a little contest. And this little contest is going to come to you by email. But I want you to be thinking about it. You guys that are here now will get some extra time to think about it. I do believe Mr. Math and I are going to start a podcast talking about coins, die varieties, and such. And I would like to give it a very nice hook of a name. And, well, we're a little stuck on naming things like that. So, be thinking about what you think a good title of a podcast where a couple of guys are talking about Lincoln cents and die varieties and stuff. Oh man, that's just not pretty. We'll be talking about things like the market, what we've searched, how to search, and we'll be answering emails during the podcast, giving answers that we can give. We will also have a guest here and there, perhaps. Tripwit, good day, sir. So then the good old days where 1955 was the only known Bugs Bunny. I knew that there had been additional ones found, but I did not know that there's one for nearly every year. A nice die crack right there. Yeah, that's a little disheartening. What has that done much to affect the value of the 55? I mean, because I know the 55s used to sell for pretty good money. I've had a couple of them over time. Wow, this is one of those rolls that I almost feel like giving up on before we really even get through. Some nice color on some of these. All of them are uncirculated, but say an unk red brown is the best some of them come out to be. And as would be the case with at least 90% of all 1955 rolls, it doesn't look like there's any die varieties in this. It's a lot of die cracks, if you like die cracks, and die damage from overuse, stuff like this right here. You'll find some interest in these coins. A lot of die cracks, die chips. Line under the chin on wheats. Oh, yeah. You're talking about the clash of the letter on the reverse that makes a. I was thinking of a horizontal line. I don't know why I was, but it's a vertical line. When I was thinking of a horizontal line, I was having trouble figuring out what you were talking about. But as soon as my brain woke up and said it doesn't have to be a horizontal line, Chuck, then I realized what you were talking about. Yeah, that is really common on wheat cents. Another thing that's relatively common on the wheats is to see the part of the C of cent curved above the Y of liberty. That's also relatively common. Yeah, in fact, clashes are not really uncommon at all. And it's just one of many things that shows us that the overall general numismatic market back in the day, before we really started studying a lot about the minting process, I'd say back in, the 60s or before, there were a lot of people who ended up with a lot of coins that they paid good money for that really aren't worth much of a plug nickel over normal coin value. But there's still people paying way too much for stuff that shouldn't really have any value. Just because the lack of knowledge of the minting process and what happens during the minting process back in the earlier days gave birth to what we consider cherry picker variety, nice, wonderful stuff, but we're just following a market that didn't understand what they were. Stuff like 1922 No D Lincoln cents, all of them were minted in Denver. Thing is just a mint mark wore off of a couple of the dies. Big whoop. What makes that go from a value of $20, $30, $50 up to $10,000? I don't even see it. Same thing with the 1937 D three-leg buffalo. Well, we've since found 2 feather and 3.5 leg and all kinds of other stuff on other issues. Yet that 3-legged buffalo is the one that's highly sought after for lots of money without any realistic cause. I mean, it's die over polishing. It happens all the time. I understand value is in the eye of the beholder. I get it completely. But the eye of the beholder doesn't make a market. The market was made by a lack of understanding. And that you can't see the D on the 1922 22 no Ds is the point. I understand the point. But that doesn't make it any less of a common thing. I've had a roll of 1923S one time, and I found a coin in there that looked like a 23 plane, and I was like, bummer. You know, I got a 23 plane in my 23S roll, and anybody who knows 23 plane is worth a lot less than the 23S. And so I stuck it under the microscope just to take a good look at it, and I saw a mark. And then I looked at it, and I looked at it closely with a loupe and tilted the coin in the light and everything, and I could see that there was just a shadow of an S mint mark on the coin. 1,000 more strikes and that S would not have been there at all, and probably wasn't. But just because 1923 in Philadelphia they minted Lincoln cents and did not put mint marks on them, a missing mint mark 26 or 23S has no premium value. But just because all 1922s were supposed to have a mint mark and some don't, that alone makes them valuable? Well, the market says so. But as far as I'm concerned, they're just a simple case of die over polishing die wear. Right? And it says, think of what the hype would be should the folders have mint mark styles in them. Good Lord, right? It'd make the books a lot bigger, that's for sure. One of the videos I just did is Which One Do You Have? Explores the 3 different mint marks for 1952D. So if you didn't know there's 3 different mint marks used in 1952D, you can go to the channel and see the YouTube short about that. I spend about 40 seconds talking briefly and showing pictures. Well, yes. Value. Well, it isn't necessarily value and scarcity drive value, because value doesn't drive value. It's the fact that it was a misunderstanding and scarcity that drove the value of this. 37D three-legged buffalo and the other stuff. But, you know, the same thing it could be said about double dies and repunch mint marks. Their value is driven by their scarcity, and the amount of their value is driven by that plus their visibility. And I'm not arguing that the market does see the 22 no D and the 37 D three-legged buffalo as very valuable coins. I'm not putting my head in the sand. But what I am saying is that there are a lot of other issues out there that have very similar abraded die stuff, missing details and such, that don't garner any recognition at all, in part because by the time they were discovered or first found, they were, we were already well into the era where people understood the minting process and could see that they were very common. Next week we'll be collecting what die pairs? Sounds interesting so far. Right, yeah, missing initials on missing FG, missing VDB cents, their floating roof cents. Yeah, I get it. They're all basically the same thing. But that stuff is not recognized by the Cherry Picker's Guide or by PCGS or most experienced collectors or dealers, because discovery of that kind of stuff came along more or less in the modern era of coin collecting, and they are not seen as having any value because we know what caused them, and we know that the cause is rather common. Now, the podcast that Eric and I are talking about doing, this is Eric Maith, Irka, that we're discussing the idea of anyway. Not necessarily going to do it, but we're talking about doing it. Would be something that we'd come on once a week for a half an hour, and I would just kind of sit and talk about coins and stuff. And it'd be a podcast, a real podcast. Doesn't have video. It's more like a radio show. And I've kind of always wanted to do something like that. I'm also working on the idea of some new shirts for copper coins and other merchandise such as tumblers and coffee cups and mouse pads and things like that, that I can have a company create so that I'll have a catalog that you can order from, and then they will make them as you order them and ship them to you. So it will be another website that you would go to that would carry my merchandise in a sub-store, like a mini store, like a department store. I mean, you'd have the copper coins department. And you go to the copper coins department of this store and pick what you want and purchase it there. They take the money, they send you the items, and I get a cut. My work is the design. Their work is creation and shipping. Yeah, there's a lot of people collecting a lot of stuff. And I don't begrudge anyone for collecting whatever they want to collect. I'm good with that. There is argument, however, in whether or not said items are actually marketable. Some of them are not. Some of them are just... Oh, wait a minute, stop. I might be looking at what I would guess is probably a new Class 2+6 double die reverse. If it works out that that's what I'm seeing. Nah, get closer and it doesn't look like it now. I was thinking maybe, but get closer and the lines become more apparent. Yeah, no doubling. Sorry. I thought I had it. Not the double die, not the big double die. Big double die on the reverse is a pretty fat class 6. So I have a lot in the planning stages, and the reason I'm doing a lot of things with other little bits and parts like YouTube and merchandise and stuff like that is because I'm trying to build a fund so that I can afford to hire the help it will take to get eventual reprogramming done of copper coins. Now, I'm going to clean up the graphics and take away all the departments that don't exist. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is new features to be added to the website after it's been cleaned up. I'm going to do the cleanup myself. Then after it's been cleaned up, we're going to be looking into trying to get basically a recode of the website. Look at that die break. That's some interesting stuff right there. And that's going to cost money. And because it's going to cost money, somebody's got to pay for it. Somebody's going to be me. Well, I would rather make little bits of profit here and there on things that that we can share and enjoy, that end up paying to make the catalog what it should be. That's my dream. And I'm sticking to it. This dream has been a live dream in my brain since I was 36 years old. I am now 56 years old. And I don't have many more time to waste, you know? I got to get this stuff done. And I don't know why it was that, I wait until I'm 56 years old to hit the realization that I'm getting old. And getting old means you're going to die someday. So, anyhow, I've got that realization and know that I need to really start working on stuff in order to get it finished, in order to get anything finished. Oh, Steve, man, I remember that. I remember that time. I also remember the overlapping lettering on the dollar edge of the dollar coins. I also remember the ones that were blank around the edge, and all of the people grinding them down to fake that, sanding them down. But anyhow, we're getting close to the end of this rather uneventful roll. A little spotty. We're going to move into I believe it's 1956 or 55S. That's next. The 55S roll that I got coming next, I haven't seen inside of that one either. But it should be okay. 55S is usually known to come better than 1955 plain. But, yeah, this is kind of the plan going forward, is I'm looking to ways of being able to bring little bits of profit in so that I can stockpile that like a squirrel saves his nuts, and eventually turn that into a fund that will pay for all of us to have a much nicer catalog than we do. My dream. And I may not make it there with you. The Coin Nuts podcast. I kind of want the podcast to have something to do with pennies or, well, cents. Once again, I'm hard pressed to enforce the idea that we spend cents, not pennies. There are a few different reasons why. Yes, it says cent on the coin. It says it right there. But colloquially and professionally, our country calls them pennies. Why professionally? Well, think about it. The United States Mint named the 2009 Bicentennial Lincoln Cents LP1, LP2, LP3, and LP4. That was their codes on the box. So it's not an enigma. It's not something that we made up. The Mint made that up. Well, guess what the P part stands for? You got it. Penny. And then how long has it been that we've been using wrappers for the 1 cent coin that say pennies on them? I'll answer that question. Ever since we've been wrapping pennies, the wrappers have said pennies on them. Ever since. Day one on up, they've been pennies. So, in fact, I have never actually, I don't remember ever seeing a wrapper, the little red wrappers that we put 50 coins into. I don't remember ever seeing a wrapper that says penny, it says cents on it. I may have, but I don't remember it right away. I know that 95% of them say pennies. So, if you want to do a keyword density and look for keywords that people search for, pennies wins over cents 3-1. So, whether we like it or not, our Lincoln cents have in normal life turned into pennies, and that's just what the planet calls them. All right, well, we didn't get anything in this roll, unfortunately, but you can't know unless you look. All right, I'm going to take off here. It is 2:30 Eastern Time. I'm going to be back at about 2:35, 2:40 Eastern Time. Just long enough to bow out, change my screen, and come back. So go get your drink, get ready. We're going to move on to the next roll. Be there in just a few minutes.